Hi, I am Zero. This is my Twitch stream. Zero does stuff because as Zero, I does stuff with bad grammar. And today I will be talking to Ian from the podcast, the fellow Monster of the Week podcast, Shrimp and Crits. Ian,
Hello.
please introduce yourself. How should people know you other than Shrimp and Crits? Is there anything else? I mean,
Yeah, well, most more recently I've begun releasing I've released one game. I shouldn't get ahead of myself. But yeah, I am a amateur tabletop RPG designer and I edit lots of shows. I edit Monster Hour and I just started editing $2 Creature Feature.
mm.
So I'm slowly taking over the entire Monster of the Week podcast universe. Um,
I bet
yeah.
Dixon hopes that you'd take over my podcast as well, since we've kind of been on hiatus for a few months because I have issues sitting down to edit audio. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
All right. So we'll just do a little quick thing about shrimp and crits before we move into your amateur TTRPG creation.
Mhm.
Just because I'm sure everyone wants to pick your brain a little bit about shrimp and crits. If anyone has any questions in the chat, please add them and we will, of course, get to them.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I am so unprepared that I have not prepared any questions. And Ian says he hasn't prepared anything to say either. So we need your chat. Please, you're our only hope. Right. So how did Shrimp and Crit start? We'll start with the obvious one. Why did Shrimp and
Yeah.
Crit start?
That's a great question. Me and Ryan and I have been friends for a long time. Actually, all of us have been friends for a long time. But Ryan always mentioned to me starting a podcast together. We briefly talked about doing a fantasy football podcast. That's American football. I know you're from, outside of the U.S.,
Yeah.
but that would require a lot of research. So I didn't want to do that. As much fun as it would have been. And we've been the Adventure Zone fans forever, and so we were like, okay, I think we can do that and have a lot of fun with it. So Cap is actually a high school friend of mine, and Katie is his wife. So that's just kind of how it all came together.
Now you said that Katie is Cap's wife. Do you want to
No,
go back
well,
and fix
well,
that?
it can be ambiguous at times. No, I'm just kidding. No, Katie is Ryan's wife. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell her you said that. So, are you guys always going to play Monster of the Week on the main podcast, or if you thinking once Shrimp and the Gallicochica story ends, are you thinking
Mhm.
of changing systems?
Um, that is a good question. It's good time to ask that question because we're getting towards the end of our season one. I know we joked about moving on to like season two haircuts and whatnot, but it's all been season one so far. But yeah, we plan on moving on from Monster of the Week. Not totally. It's still my favorite TTRPG.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we haven't announced what exactly we're gonna do, but at the moment, what I can tell you is that we're going to change systems for our next season or whatever our next iteration looks like.
And do you guys know all of that already? Has it been decided? Or you don't have to say what it is, but do you know
Mhm.
yet?
We know what our next system is going to be. Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's
But
good.
I think that we'll probably wait to announce. We'll do a Q&A episode after our season finale, and we'll probably announce it then.
Awesome. Dixon wants to know, have you already started recording?
Dixon, I appreciate that question. We haven't even started recording our finale yet.
That's probably the better question, isn't it? I was like, oh, you guys that far ahead? How far ahead are you guys from what's airing at the moment?
I just started editing $2 creature feature, like I said, and I looked in their folder, and they have like 20 episodes
Yeah, I
recorded,
know.
and it blew my mind because we are literally like we're recording our next episode still. Like, uh, Katie and Ryan have a baby, and so it makes it hard to figure
Mm.
out how to get together and whatnot. But
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
we're
mhm.
basically not ahead at all.
Yeah, they're amazing. I know. I was speaking with Mr. Ray about that, and he said, "Oh, yeah, we've got a few months worth." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
It's pretty amazing. I wish we had that cushion. It would be nice.
Mm.
But
Well, I have a lot of cushion as well for Regator Wolf. It's just I'm not releasing, so I have 3 whole mysteries recorded that I
that's
need to
great.
edit.
Yeah, it's a lot. I used to struggle with deadlines and procrastination, but for whatever reason, I've really been able to chow down on some editing.
Mm,
So
that's good. Now you've said that I don't know if this is okay to talk about you, but you said that you have ADHD. So how are you managing to do all of this with that?
So yeah, I think I should probably clarify. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. I do occasionally mention it, which I probably should not until I'm like officially diagnosed. But it is I identify that way because it's I have trouble focusing. I am very scatterbrained all the time. But what it really comes down to is I I self medicate with coffee, with caffeine, like all day. So when I edit, I
Ah,
have to have coffee in front of me. Otherwise, I'll just be like staring at the screen. Like,
yeah, because I've heard that for people with ADHD, coffee can actually be a downer to bring them.
yeah.
Yeah, so that actually works for you. Interesting. Well, I don't know
Hmm,
if
hmm.
Rosie's still here, but Rosie, there's maybe a tip for you there.
Coffee all day, every day.
Okay. Dixon says, pretty sure you've been officially diagnosed as awesome.
Thank you, Dixon.
Isn't he lovely? D- Do you wish that you could be a player in your own world that you've created?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so, Cap, there's no spoilers, but there is a brief 2 episode arc where we surprise, let Cap take over, really in the middle of a story. It was pretty fun and weird. But so yeah, I think yes. The answer is yes, and I think that without spoiling anything, we have talked about doing some of that in the near future, as far as maybe mini arcs or
Mm,
whatever. So
that's cool. That's cool. Because in a way, we are everyone, aren't we, as keepers in the world? But also, we don't really have the ability to be surprised by the keeper and the NPCs. Although I guess
yeah,
we are surprised by the players and the shenanigans, right?
very true, very true. But
So,
I honestly, as a forever DM type person, I've learned to embrace it, and I've learned to realize that through playing in other campaigns that I I actually am more satisfied most of the time as a GM than
mm,
as a
mm.
player. Like as a player, I feel like, oh, like I wish I could be doing more. But
It's also I've found as I find the same thing too. I just like to have not really control, but more breadth than just having that one character, especially if they have a voice. It is so much harder to keep a voice going for a character during a whole session than it is to
mhm,
switch between multiple ones, because at least you get a break as the
yes,
keeper, right?
yes.
Okay, so should we move things along then to your? You said you're an amateur TTRPG creator, but
Mhm.
if you're getting money for it, does that still make you an amateur?
That's fair. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean I will say getting money is a relative term because I don't know. I think my lifetime sales for Bit Around the Bush is something around $15. So it's not like I'm raking it in, but it is. I mean, it is. I before I was a TTRPG podcaster, writer, whatever. I was a musician for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still am, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
and I never made a dime off of my music. So even when I make a 50-cent sale of a thing I made, it's like it brings me a lot of fulfillment. It's a really cool thing. But yeah, I say amateur. Really, anyone who has planned an RPG session is, in a way, an amateur RPG writer because yeah, maybe you haven't sat down and made a whole mechanic system, but you have done some kind of homebrew. Even if you're running a pre-written module, you know, you are going through the same thought process as someone who designs their own game. You just maybe don't even know, realize it.
Yeah. How long has Bit Around the Bush been out?
That's a good question. It was my first release, and sometimes you do something and maybe it's imposter syndrome, or maybe it's just that it hasn't occurred to you that you can release it, as a product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I released it pretty whimsically because it just kind of occurred to me that I could. I
Mm-hmm.
looked
Mm-hmm.
at actually I should shout out Mr. Ray of $2 Creature Feature because it was looking at his stuff on Itch, and looking at your Monster of the Week module or mystery that you released, and I was that gave me the confidence. I thank you very much. It gave me the confidence to be like,
uh,
oh, well, I can put my stuff on the internet. I can put my stuff out there. So, and it was just such a fun experience to make something in a new way. Anyway, I guess your question was how long has it been out? The answer is I don't, off the top of my head, remember. It's been under a year, somewhere under a
yeah.
year,
Yeah.
probably about 6 months.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that I was one of the people who helped inspire you to actually release it to the world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's great though, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'll do this, and it's like, oh, oh, $2 came in, or a
Yeah,
dollar 50, or whatever it is. I like getting the little
exactly.
email notifications of every sale.
Yes, yes. It's a small. It's a tiny little endorphin rush, and it's
Mm.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, what made you come up with Bit Around the Bush? It's obviously a one-page TTRPG, so it has to be fairly specific, and you
Mhm.
specifically went for what is it? A storage unit auction parody.
Yes, yes. It's actually a funny story. I'm not a big reality TV show guy, but
Okay.
for some reason, one of the ones that hooks me the most. Um, I used to watch it with my old roommate before he moved away. There's a show called Storage Wars,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
it is hysterical. It's theater. It's like watching wrestling. Like everybody is a character, and there's not really even any disillusion that any of these people are trying to be who they authentically are. Like it's all very silly and very campy. And anyway, I was on vacation with my wife, and um, we had a lull in our plans, so we were just kind of relaxing and recouping in the hotel room, and we were watching some Storage Wars that just happened to be on TV. And I remember being like, a lot of marathon shows go straight into the next episode,
Mm-hmm.
but Storage Wars goes so far in they start rolling the theme song during the last few minutes of the show of the episode, like during the rolling credits. They like so it's like they're trying to trap you in this time loop. But anyway, I was watching this show and I was like, oh man, this would work so well as an RPG, as a simple not a lot of rules, RPG. And yeah, that was I came up with the rule. I scribbled the hotels have a little notepad,
Yeah.
so I scribbled my ideas for the rule on this notepad, trying not to like go too far into work mode while I'm trying to enjoy spending time with my wife, so um but yeah, and eventually I got back to it. I found it in the bottom, crumpled in the bottom of a backpack, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this game.
And then you guys played it for one of the Patreon. Is that right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
played it on our Patreon, and then also um, the Monsters Playbook was kind enough to have me on as a guest, and I kind of guided everyone. It's a GM-less game, but it helps to have somebody who's played it before to kind of explain things as you go. So yeah, we played it, and it was hysterical both times. It's a riot of a game because a lot of the times when we play RPGs, we lean into caricatures. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, when we're doing reality show as our genre, you can really create some um, extremely exaggerated types of people. So it was fun.
Oh, we've got a specific question from Dixon here, who is obviously totally up with all of these games. He says, when you played with the Monsters Playbook, there was a small issue where John kept using his catchphrase instead of giving a dollar amount for bids. Do you have any tips for avoiding that scenario? Although it was still hilarious.
Thanks, Dixon. Yeah, actually, that's a feature, not a bug. The rules encourage you to use your catchphrase as bidding. Like, of course, I think that's part of the hilarity of this game is it doesn't give you a lot of guidance about like how to run an auction.
Uh
It
huh.
says I wrote here in the rules you can use a text app if you have trouble like um, uh, figuring out who said what first or whatever, or you can just yell at each other and figure it out chaotically as you go. But yeah, essentially in an auction, it's the auctioneer's job to set the amount, and then the bidder often just kind of like puts their finger up, or if they maybe sometimes they have a paddle or whatever. So in this case, in the show, there is a character, I forgot his name, but in the show I'm parodying here, there's a character, his catchphrase is "Hey up," like this
Oh my
really
god.
exaggerated, and that's how he bids is by saying his catchphrase. So yeah, the rules encourage you to do that. It was just a funny goof that we were doing that we were all kind of stumbling over everything.
I'm glad it plays well and is very entertaining for all involved. Did you guys do any? Was that really your play testing, or did you do any other play testing beforehand? Because I know some people are like, you've got to play test the shit out of your game before you release it, and then other people are just like, man, let's just release it.
This was definitely more of like, I'm just gonna put it out as it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then worst case scenario, if there's some kind of issue, I'll figure it out. I think we did play with I played with Shrimp and Crits before I released it, but
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed. Excuse me, I really enjoyed the way it played. The biggest issue, the biggest issue I found while playing with the Monsters Playbook, is just sort of the math. Like at the end of the game, you have to add up what you bidded on, um, what you made off of each unit, and I think that gets a little tedious. Nobody likes doing math,
Mm-hmm.
so you roll dice, multiply it by 100 because each number represents $100,
Okay.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at a certain point, the math becomes a little jumbled, which somebody who didn't have me there to explain it might have trouble with. Um, but I think it just requires a little bit of figuring out.
Play to find out.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, Dixon has another question. Can you clarify how much money each person actually has? Is it theoretically infinite?
Who said don't say it, Rosa? Um, Yeah, so theoretically, yes, it's infinite. The economy of the game, though, is it kind of dictates how much you'll spend. So you can either buy a small unit, a medium unit, or a large unit. So and then that determines which die you roll to get your money, your value. So, for example, even if you're buying a large unit, the highest number you can roll, that one's a D20. It's the biggest dice,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So the highest you can roll is a 20. So you don't want to spend more than you would make off of the units. But the rule is to say you can. There's no cap.
Nice. So,
Mhm.
oh my God, my mind just blanked. I'm sorry. This is what happens when
Mm.
you don't sleep the night before and it's 10 in the morning on a public holiday in New Zealand.
It's
Mm.
quite all right.
It doesn't make for good twitching. I don't know what to say here. I was going to say TV, but yeah. Yeah, no cap. You know, the Gen Zers, that means what? No lying? Also,
Yeah,
Rosie
the
wants
kids
us
the
to
kids will love
hydrate.
this game.
We need to hydrate, apparently. It looks like
Oh,
everyone's going crazy with the hydrates. Oh my
yeah,
God,
chug it.
Rosie has sent us 6. I need to put a limit on that. Here you go, guys. I'll
Thanks,
God damn it,
thanks,
Rosie.
Rosie.
I'm just gonna complete them all. 7. So if you have any more, you'll have to wait. Oh my God, he's done another one.
I'm hydrated now. Please let me stop.
We'll get to them later, Rosie. There's 2 more.
No.
We'll do them later. We'll do them later. God damn it. No cap to the hydrates either, but yeah, I've got to fix that. JR, we're not all wet. Good lord, what kind of a stream do you think this is? A hot tub stream? Wow. Okay, so do you think you'll change anything for Bit Around the Bush? Because you said if there was any issues or something.
Um, I think it's good. I mean, I think that it's at the moment I don't see a reason to change it. I think it's it might not be the most clearly cut out thing that's ever been designed, but I'm happy with it. I've really enjoyed playing it, and the people that I played with have said that it's really fun as well. So
Yeah.
so far, I think it's good right now. The way it is.
So how did you decide on the dice to use?
Yeah, I just kind of thought about the concept of not wanting to limit people as far as how much money they could spend. So I knew I wanted to have small, medium, and large units because my experience with storage units, which is a funny detail, is how you figure out who goes first is
Mm.
who's been most recently to a storage unit, which has been been really funny each time I've played it. Because some people just don't go. Some people don't have one. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't have one, I guess I should say. But anyway, I just figured a small unit, you get to roll your size die 3 times. So a small unit is a D6. So most you can make is 600 3 times. Medium unit is a D8, which the max is 800 3 times, and a large unit is a D20. So you can
Oh.
obviously make the most money off of a large unit. But it doesn't, there's no winning. It's all just very whimsical and fun. So, yes, somebody makes the most money at the end of the game, but it's all in good fun. Anyone who makes a profit is technically a winner, so um, it's more about what there's parts in the rules where everyone kind of collaborates to figure out what's in each unit. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
a lot of hilarity has come for that. So like for example, when I played with the Monsters Playbook, um, Colin was one of the characters, and he really wanted a new motorcycle, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a ridiculous goal to have coming into buying repossessed storage units. You know, what are the odds you're going to find a motorcycle in
I
one of
mean, it's
these things? So
possible.
every time someone would describe the unit, be like, "Well, there's something covered up in the corner. Looks like it's probably a mannequin." He's like, "Oh, maybe that's my motorcycle." You know, like that's where the fun of it. The math is just, the numbers are just numbers,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. It's the shenanigans and fun and the role play that's where it's at.
Exactly.
Dixon has another question. So let's talk about talk shit. The mechanic is hilarious. How did you decide to implement that into the game since it's such a fun part of Storage Wars?
Oh, we have a Storage Wars fan. Good, good. Um, yeah, I basically just thought that it would be fun to have a mechanic on the side that's not totally integral to the central driving force of the game.
Mhm.
Um, and so basically, talk shit can happen really anywhere throughout the game, but especially in the beginning. I encourage the players to. There's a section of the game where you're introducing your character, and it's when like it's in the show when the people come up and they're like, I'm Bibbly Diddly, and I'm here to buy storage units for my antique shop down the street. Yada yada yada. So talk shit gives the other players the agency, the encouragement. Interrupt them. Be like, "Oh, diddly biddly, I think you look like a clown." So it's just like and all you do is when you talk shit, and everybody agrees that that's what's happening. The characters involved in the shit talk, which I've learned through playtesting, can be more than two characters. uh, Everybody rolls a d6, and the person who rolls the lowest takes a -1 modifier that factors in later when you're determining how much your unit is worth. So this talk shit can actually
Ah.
satisfy. That's, I guess, there to represent like you're thrown off, you lose confidence, you have poor judgment when you're looking at your units.
You talk too much shit.
You talk too much shit, or you had the shit talked against you.
You're just full of shit.
Right. Which when you have a good group can factor in throughout the game. So for example, that character Colin, when I played with the Monsters Playbook, I talked shit against him at the beginning, and he lost the role. And I insulted his clothing. I said he wasn't dressed well enough to be to be at this perceived prestigious auction event.
Uh-huh.
And so later, there's another mechanic called B-roll scenes, because if you don't buy a unit, and this exists in the show too,
Mhm.
the characters, the auctioneers that don't buy units get B-roll scenes, and it can be really goofy stuff from like them just messing around, like trying to design a new T-shirt for their antique store, or like
Okay.
sometimes they try to sabotage each other. But anyway, for my B-roll scene that episode, my character went and rented a tuxedo for for Colin, like a really goofy tuxedo. But yeah,
Oh, you should have got him one of those tuxedo T-shirts.
yeah. I think I went like full like tails and poofy whatever.
Oh. Well, Dixon seems
Thanks,
to have
Dixon.
enjoyed that hilarious scene.
Thank you, Dixon.
So stylish. So, how many people do you recommend as a good number to play this game?
I think I put 3 to 5 players. A two is not enough because you're just alternating.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm personally, I tend to lean towards smaller player amounts.
Mm.
But I said 3 to 5 because I think 5 could still it might be a little more chaotic the more play. You could theoretically play with however many people you
Mm-hmm.
want, especially since what I was getting at before with how the episodes run right into each other, marathon style. At the end of the game, at the end of the game, it says that the next episode starts now with absolutely no break. Go back to stage 1 and play again. So theoretically, if you had 10 people playing it, you could just, some people could take a break, whatever. I don't know.
What do you think the average run time is? Or, the average play time?
I think when I was designing, and this is maybe where playtesting could have come in handy, but I think when designing it, I was thinking like each round would take like an hour,
Ooh.
but in practice, in play, it really takes more like 3. Like
Ooh.
any RPG kind of situation.
I guess it depends on the level of role play that the participants like to role play in, I guess.
That's also very true. Yeah, there was lots of goofing around when I played, so.
Yeah, yeah. Dixon says bit around the bush seems like it would really work well as a party game. That would be interesting. How would you incorporate alcohol into that? I mean, that's what party games are, right? You do this, you fail, or you succeed and you drink, right?
Yeah, I guess you could throw that in there somewhere, although just the general spirit of having alcohol handy would release the inhibitions and make a wider variety of jokes happen.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would encourage the role play. I would say.
Yeah. Although I will say that without alcohol being involved, both times I've played, it's been suggested that one unit from different people that hadn't played together, it was suggested that one of the units in each game had sex toys in it. So that seems to be an inevitable subject matter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would say so. Texan said, I didn't even mean that, but yeah, you lost talk shit, drink. You lost the bid, drink.
There you go. There you go.
So, Bit Around the Bush has obviously been out for almost anywhere up to a year, since you can't quite
Yeah.
remember when it's coming out. What's next? Do you have something else lined up? Where is your creative mind taking you, Ian?
I have lots of ideas, and yeah, one of the things. So my big announcement is I did want to talk about the game that I have up next, so to speak. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to hopefully be finishing that up in the next couple of weeks. Um, it's called Confluence. It's another one-page RPG.
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to get it all on one page. But the idea is it's a 2-player game,
Mm-hmm.
no GM, and it is about 2 characters who it's inevitable that they meet. But
Mm-hmm.
the hook is that the game ends when they meet. So you have 2 players. I call them in the rules. There's no gender constraints, obviously, or whatever. It's not about love or heterosexuality or anything like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just about 2 people. It can be about whatever you want, but
Mm-hmm.
the 2 people are going to meet. But in the rules, I call them Jack and Jill for the sake of explaining what to roll.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jack and Jill go up the hill to fetch the pail of water,
Yeah.
or what have you. But anyways, I base it off like lasers and feelings, skater grab, honey heist type
Mm-hmm.
rules. So each Jack and Jill have a number from 1 to 6. It starts at 2 and 5, I think. And so you start alternating who plays each player. I'm sorry, you play the same player, but who runs the game for the other player.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm Jack, my Jill would kind of explain the scenario, the obstacles. We would first decide on what the genre is. Like we
Mm-hmm.
could be someone stuck in a space station hurtling towards a star, and the other one is someone on a rescue mission to save them.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be as like simple and mundane as 2 people walking down the street in New York that are about to go to the same coffee shop. Just as long as you can think of, you can agree on a genre and come up with interesting obstacles to make the game fun, then you have a good concept. So anyway, I would start out as Jack, and my Jill would GM for me. So if I did something, and so it's sort of like there's a play to find out what happens thing in there, but it's play to learn more about your character is what I say in the rules. So it's how you determine how to roll. You're either rolling Jack or rolling Jill, and you decide which one to roll based on, is what I'm attempting to do something best suited for Jack or best suited for Jill? And if you fail, your number changes to closer to the other person. You know what I mean? So, so as you go through the game, you're kind of figuring out who these people are, as well as like trying to get the numbers to match, because there's another mechanic called Kindred. So if your numbers are matching at any point, you can trigger Kindred, which kind of automatically clears the scene. You take over as the GM and you say how you navigate the situation. And then at that point, once you've each gone through enough obstacles, or once both people decide that it's time for their characters to meet, they do. And that's just sort of the beauty of it, is you decide together, collaboratively building this story, when the right time for these characters to meet. But then the game is over. You briefly talk about what their meeting would be like, if they would like each other, if this changes their life or is just kind of a chance one-off meeting. And then you can play again if you want to, or play something else. So maybe actually one of my play testers for this, I have been kind of working with some people for this one, but she suggested that this would be a great like character narrative version of like The Quiet Year. So like, you know how the McElroys played The Quiet Year into a campaign. You could easily play this into a campaign that way. Like, oh, now we know our character's history, like how they met. So it's kind of a fun idea that I came up with. Yeah.
So Dixon said a number of things like strangers in the night. What were the chances? According to this game, 100%. Don't know what that one was in reference to. But he also said, so is the goal sort of to put off meeting for as long as you can?
It depends. I think that there's a lot open-ended here, kind of intentionally so, because I want it to be able to hold up different types of stories. So it's a lot of it is about trusting the person you're playing with and figuring out how to come to an agreement. So, for example, if we're playing that scenario with the space station, the person's going to die if the rescue party doesn't succeed. So you might have the rescue party. You know, I'm trying to get to them. I'm trying to navigate this asteroid field. And I clear that obstacle. Great. We switch to the other player. I don't know. There's something on this ship. You have to get away, or like maybe one of your obstacles is to hide. Maybe it's to figure out how to toggle the controls to slow down the space station. But anyways, you can draw it out, but the point is to at some point agree that, oh, now is the right time. Like this is the moment that the bay doors open and we see each other for the first time. So it's just more about it's less about drawing it out or making it quicker, and more about finding the right time, telling the most interesting story.
Well, you know what I would do in that situation? I'd say that the rescue party arrived and they like end up all dying in the star.
Yeah,
that would be the most interesting to me.
And what a beautiful story too! Like for the doors to open, they meet. There's a brief moment of hope, and then they both burn up in a fire. But you know what I mean? Like that's that's exactly the type of thing we're trying to accomplish here. Is like just a unique and beautiful and irrevocable connection.
Mm-hmm. You guys can't see this because I've cropped it out, but Cricket is in the background behind Ian. So I get to see Cricket, but you guys don't.
Cricket's my
Yeah,
baby.
anyway.
I would move my camera, but I don't want to mess up your your stream settings.
Well, I would move my cropping, but I think I would fuck up somewhere along the way, and we've had enough tech issues today. So you've decided to do playtesting for this one, and
Mhm.
why did you decide to do that for this one? You learning from mistakes, or you want
You
more
know, yeah,
input?
the first game, Bit Around the Bush, felt very DIY. I did all the the graphic design is being generous, but I did all the graphic design myself, and I did all the drawing, the art for it myself. Very much like I just want to put this out and put my thing out there. But this is I want it to be a little bit more polished. It's less of a goofy idea. It's more of a
Mm.
serious and sentimental idea, and I want the design of the game to reflect that. I've considered hiring a graphic designer. I think I'm still going to try and do it myself. I just want to put a little bit more care into what it looks like and how it reads, because I think that this is just more of a, like I said, just more sentimental, more heady, I guess.
Yeah, no. It did sound like it when you started describing the game. I was like, oh, this is not silly shenanigans like Bit Around the Bush.
Right.
This is something a little bit more. I guess there still is room for silly shenanigans if you really
Oh
want to
yeah.
go that route, but there's also the option not to go that route. Mm.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I want it to be able to support a variety of different stories, and a variety of different relationships. Like it might be easy to conceive a romantic plot in this way, but I want it to also, what if we want to do like more of like a buddy comedy kind of vibe, like two people who are going to meet and just be best friends, like that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Or
But
mortal enemies, even. This is a
or yes,
good way to set up a rivalry if you're playing it to establish background histories for another game.
exactly.
Especially if you've made it so that each person coming to the location, your person has set up traps for the other person to get to you. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I think actual plays could use it in that way. So, think about how Quinn does his backstory episodes for their Patreon. I know that Cap played Dorian, I think is
Hmm.
the name of the character
Yeah.
in that. Um, I think he usually plays whatever the game is, whether it's Monster of the Hour, Monster of the Week, or Absurdia.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that this game could be well suited for a concept for an actual play like that. Like, okay, well, these two characters hate each other. Let's go back and find out why. Like, how did they meet?
Ah,
What
like a
started all of
flashback
this?
type game.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, that could be really interesting too. Yeah. So you said it'd probably be out in a few weeks, but I guess it depends on if you graphic design it yourself or if you try
Mhm.
that, decide you don't like it, and hire a professional.
Exactly. And it also depends. It's I feel like doing what we do in this tabletop RPG space,
Hmm.
you just end up being jack of all trades, master of none
Oh,
kind of
yep.
situation.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
especially when you're trying to do it all yourself.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, yeah, I want to say that this will be out 2 weeks from today, but like, um, hey, I'm also editing 3 shows and they pay me, so I have to do it, you know. And it's like, oh, I also have to keep up the Patreon content and do this and this and making music all along the way. And so,
Yeah.
and also I wait tables, so I have to
Yes,
pay my bills.
you have a day job where you're on your feet, yeah, or a night job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, Best intentions, but hopefully within the next month or so.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing it and possibly playing it. Maybe we could come do it on the stream at some point.
That would be great. That would be great. That would be wonderful.
But I totally understand about having to do all the things because I'm the one who does all the things.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
from your amateurish professional experience of TTRPG creating thus far, what advice do you have for a fledgling amateur TTRPG creators?
I think I would go back immediately to my point is you're more set up to do it than you think you are. If you've ever run a game, like I said, you've already laid down the groundwork. You've already started putting using that part of your brain. So my advice, my actionable advice is, if you have an idea, do it, even if it's something silly. If it, like bit around the bush, if it's the goofiest, most niche idea, put it on the internet. Because if your brain works any way like mine does, as soon as you do it, you'll have 12 other ideas, and you'll start working on three of them, and then you'll just be, whatever I am.
Awesome. We've already diagnosed you as awesome. You've been Dixon diagnosed, remember?
That's right. That's right. Dr. Dixon. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dixon.
Dr. Dixon. Oh dear, oh dear. So will you be playing Confluence for on Shrimp and Crits or even for your Patreon content?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And in fact, I should shout out for sure Cap and our friend Jess, because it was partially a side podcast / maybe Patreon series idea that they had that made me come up with this game, because they were going to do something called 10 Minutes Till, or something like that. Minutes Till. Maybe it was just called Minutes Till. But anyway, the plan was to be short episodes about two people, and then when they meet, the episode is over. So we played around, and I was going to produce it and then like kind of guide, be like sort of not GM, but be there if something needs to be said or whatever, a monologue or a voice on the radio or whatever it was. But anyway, that kind of fizzled out, but I still just loved the idea of writing this game. But I don't think I would have ever come to that idea if it weren't for them. So
I think probably the craziest pairing that you could get for it would probably be Cap and Katie.
yeah. Well, Cap and Katie are really good friends, and I'm sure you would agree, they play together very well, role playing on the show, especially in the beginning when Ari was trying to take sort of a mentor role of Sarah, before he ended up being disillusioned by the FA, whatever. But but no, they're very good friends, and they work very well together. So I would love to watch them play this game. I think that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with Katie's chaoticness and Cap's, well, I don't know really how to describe what Cap is, but I think those two would be the most interesting. But then you probably get the more shenanigan filled type one. I mean, I'm not saying Katie can't be serious, but The odds seem stacked against her, that's all. Camp equals controlled randomness from Dixon. Yeah, I think that's it. Obviously chaotic and controlled randomness. Yeah.
Yeah. Katie giggles when she's nervous, so even in her most serious scenes, I do a lot of editing, editing her goofies out.
Yeah, I've got a giggler too. Oh my god. Doesn't help when you have guests that come on who decide to make them giggle even more. It's their goal. And it's like, oh my god, I have to edit out so much giggling. Yeah. Carefully controlled drama from Laura there. Dixon did ask, this is a different line of questioning, but how do you deal with the stress of so many projects?
Honestly, I sort of thrive on it. It's sort of a blessing and a curse scenario. I am constantly world building and fleshing out ideas in my head. I write nothing down. I write very little down. Cap always makes fun of me for how little prep I do for, even the main Shrimp and Crits show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do, my prep is all just
In your
obsessing,
head,
obsessing and thinking about like, what are these two characters going to say to each other? What does this character think about that character? But anyway, having lots of projects to work on means that my brain is always focusing on something that matters. And I think that maybe factors back into the again, don't want to say I have ADHD when I, I've never been to a doctor about it, but if I don't have creative projects to focus on, my mind goes somewhere and I can't control that. So it might as well go to something that I care about and that I can create and put out there.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So instead of going off to procrastinate something wildly unhelpful, you just like go, oh, you've got like 12 projects on the go or something. You can just flick between them as your attention,
exactly.
designs.
If I procrastinate, I'll procrastinate with something else that I'm procrastinating.
Yeah. I can do the procrastinating. That's easy. But that's smart. That's smart. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions for Ian? Because I told him we would probably only be an hour since he has plans for after the stream. I don't want to hold him up too much, but we still have a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
What could we... Well, we can probably do the last hydrate that we got from Rosie.
Oh, yes.
We got some 2 random questions here. One is your beard care tips.
I have a pretty good beard routine. So I can go on about that if you'd really like me to. Right now I haven't done it in a while, but when I want to look real nice, I have a it's like a cylinder brush. I'm sure people with longer hair know that it's got little spikes all around it. It's a cylinder brush, and so I take that and I have a blow dryer when my beard is wet, and I kind of curl it and pull it so it straightens, but also like the edges go in instead of out. And then I use oil and a styling balm.
A little undercurl, Dixon says.
Yeah, a little undercurl.
Nice.
I haven't done it. This is not what that looks like, but this is pretty all natural. I combed it.
I think I said you were the crazed hillbilly in the alt text on the Twitter.
Yes.
That picture is very interesting. Oh no, we're having trouble with Fian. He just dropped off. Hopefully, he'll come back. Oh, he's returning. maybe. Hi.
Hello?
What
My internet
happened?
went out. Sorry.
We panicked for a
I
moment.
I turned my computer off because you called me a crazed hillbilly.
No. The beard knocked him out, JR says. There was a question from JR. I'm not really sure what he's meaning. But in all caps, he asked, "What is your quest?"
I like that question a lot. I think my quest is to create. I think that
Ah.
I'm restlessly creative. I think that um, whether it was when I was 15 and I started writing songs, um, when I tried to write a book once, but failed, to making this podcast, to starting to write RPGs. I have never experienced a greater feeling in life than making something new and giving it and putting it out there, and then people getting, like, I don't
Mm.
know. I really enjoy escapism and getting lost in things, whether it's music or fantasy or whatever. So giving that gift to someone else, even if it's just one person, is just the most fulfilling thing that I can imagine.
That's
That's my quest.
that's a really great. Oh no, he fell off again. Jesus. Let's see if he comes back. Whoops. Oh well. I really liked his answer. That was a great answer. I never thought of it like that either. It's not just your quest, but it's like your reason for being and stuff, like to create. And I guess that's exactly what I've got going on is to create. I don't always create, but I do have a few ways of doing it.
Am I back?
Hi, yeah. Wow. Maybe it's your computer trying to tell us that you should go to dinner with your friend now.
No, I've got plenty of time. I have Google Fiber, which through a weird they had to lay all their fiber in underground
Mm-hmm.
in Nashville because uh, other companies have a monopoly over the power lines, which is
Mm-hmm.
where internet cables usually are. But anyway, long story short, there's a lot of construction on my block, so sometimes the internet just randomly cuts out for no reason.
So I just have to vamp every so often. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you
keep them
missed it.
busy.
You missed it. I just basically said that I totally love your quest. Not necessarily see it as a quest, but as a goal or a reason for being. I too like to create. I don't always do it because I procrastinate, especially if there's anime or YouTube videos that can be watched. But yeah, I do it. And you've got more outlets to create. You've got the podcast, you've got TTRPG creation now, you've got music, which is probably endless ways for you to create. But yeah, I guess I have a few things too. So, yay.
Yeah, everybody's got something.
Yeah. And I did successfully write a book. I wrote a few of them. So, but
Oh, I don't think I knew that. That's awesome.
yeah, well, they're under pen names, and I'm not sharing them because it's embarrassing. But
Fair enough.
they still occasionally sell. But yeah, I haven't done that for a few years. So I
Yeah,
moved on to
so
podcasting, much more, and role playing games because much more immediate feedback,
yeah,
and you can make it with others. It's more rewarding.
yeah.
She refuses to share them. Ricky with a knife from Dixon.
Sounds like I'm not the first person to ask.
They're at least like 7 years old at this point, so they're really bad. But yeah.
Yeah, that was my big pandemic project. I had two of them, and I was trying to write a fantasy novel and then start a podcast, and I ended up having to go back to work at some point, for obvious reasons. And I was like, well, I can't do both of these. I don't have time anymore. So I stuck with the podcast, but it seems to have worked out pretty good for me.
Oh, yeah, it has worked out pretty good. I mean, you can always go back to the book, just add it into your project rotation and a
True.
few words
True.
here and there.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be given up on completely, but yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about trying to novelize some Shrimp and Crit stuff.
I think we've all thought about novelizing our own podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem with that for Regate and Wolf is that we started off using Tome of Mysteries, so I kind of feel a little bit like, I'm kind of like stepping on someone else's initial creativity here.
Mm.
But that
But that
doesn't.
goes into
Yeah.
the Creative Commons and the open content license.
That's
The drama.
I guess I could always contact the authors of those mysteries and get permission.
Mhm.
Really, I'm not real. It's just I think legally, it would be fine because of how drastically different everything went. And even when I
Mhm.
started it, I finessed it and reflavored all of the stuff to mix what I wanted because fictional town. But yeah, but it would probably be the nice thing to do. But then they can say no or
Yeah.
demand money or a cat, and it's kind of like,
And then you're like, well, now I just can't do it, right? Because I can't
yeah.
afford to give you money about it.
Or just write a whole new a whole book about them for a new mystery.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sean
just
says he
tweak it
wants to
enough.
write something about Angus, and it's kind of like, well, I'm not writing with you. You're a elaborate, wordy bitch, so I'm not. But yeah, we could write a prequel, I guess. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
we could. We could write prequels.
We've well, speaking of, we hit our Patreon goal was to start the prequel for Shrimp and Crits, and we hit that. So we're starting to work on that. It's
Tallahassee
gonna,
Nights, or
yeah, Tallahassee
yeah.
Nights. It's gonna be an Urban Shadows campaign.
Ooh, I you froze again. God damn it! Just something like that.
I'm
you
so
that
annoyed.
that internet's timing, right? So, have you already cast that? Because I remember there was a number of people who put their hands up saying, "Pick me, pick me."
What did I miss?
Have you already cast Tallahassee Nights?
We talked briefly about having a guest, but I have mixed. I've done some Patreon stuff. It's a Patreon campaign,
Mm-hmm.
so you unfortunately have to be a subscriber to get it. But I have mixed feelings. I've done some stuff with guests on our Patreon, but then I feel kind of conflicted about it because okay, I'm charging for another artist's performance, which as an
Yeah.
artist doesn't feel great. People agree to it and it's fine, but like I've tried to shift to where our guest star stuff is on the main free feed, and most of the paid content is us performing. So it'll just be the same. It'll be the same cast, but everyone's playing different characters,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unrelated to their Gullah Kochika, and it all takes place in Tallahassee. I'm very excited. Everyone has been talking about their characters, and I have like an intro planned. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be dark and gritty, and I'm gonna talk like this the whole time. It's gonna be great.
Really? You really gonna talk
Maybe
like that?
no, probably not, but
Will
sometimes.
Gerber be there?
Gerber's probably very young. It takes place in '93, so Gerber
Ah.
would be. Um, Gerber would be probably still a kid. We might see his dad. We might see somebody related to him. I don't know.
Because I'm sure everyone will be like, whoa, we got to see Gerber. Maybe one of the kids that gets saved or who sees something and that starts them on the, yeah. Oh, Dixon's
Yeah,
got
my
ideas.
Gerber could be. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. My narrator voice for it is Gerber-esque, so I might have it be like a Gerber narration, but I don't know because I don't know. My thought always was that Gerber like was a kid who for some reason had a connection an in at the police department, so like he started to idolize specifically Daniel Payne, and like seeing Daniel Payne's police work is what made him get into being a detective. So he could be as a kid in the show. We'll see. We'll see.
Then you
I
have
don't
to.
want to like. I don't want to totally rely on nostalgia characters. Like a lot.
Yeah, gotcha. Ah, no!
This is
Ian.
so annoying. It's just coming up
Yeah,
little.
you were just saying that you don't want to totally rely on nostalgia, and he fell off again. Wow. Maybe we should end this when he next appears. This is fun. I mean, I had issues yesterday with yesterday's stream too, but that was probably more CPU usage or not really. It was OBS not being able to handle the game we were playing. Are you back? Hi.
Oh, I'm so sorry about my issues, my troubles. I see my router blinking when
Uh,
it happens.
yeah. I was just saying maybe we should go ahead and tie this all up and
Oh, I can't hear you now.
oh, you can't hear me? Oh dear.
I'll refresh my.
Okay. He's gone again. Your awkward wave time, yeah. I'll start waving as he comes in and he'll be like, what the hell? Okay,
All
we
right,
should
now.
probably end this head then while we've still got you.
I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so people can find you on Shrimp and Crits, just sharing that in the chat box there, and they can find Bid Around the Bush on Itch, also sharing that. And hopefully in a few weeks or maybe a month, they can find the new game Confluence, which I'm sure you'll announce everywhere, so people can get a hold load of that. Um, and I want to thank you so much, Ian, for coming on and chatting with me about this, and also, just hanging out and chilling.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. You're an awesome part of this community, and it means a lot that you have me on this as not just as the shrimp and crits guy, but also as a TTRPG designer. It's been really fun to chat about this with you. Thank you so much.
No worries, and I hope to follow in your footsteps and make my own TTRPG soon. Maybe
I
in a
can't
month.
wait.
Who knows?
Maybe in a month, maybe in a week, maybe in a year.
Uh, Probably be a bit sooner than later, but yeah, hopefully.
Good.
Anyway, so
Good.
thank you for being my inspiration after being inspired for me. It's like we all inspire each other. Isn't this a great community?
Yes, that's what it's all about. Absolutely.
Awesome. And I want to thank all of our viewers for being here, and even if you didn't chat, just for lurking, for chatting, for asking questions, and making us hydrate. I'm pretty sure we've done all the hydrating. I think what we should do is we should raid Dice Legends again, like we did yesterday, because I believe Vahid is doing a impromptu one shot with his chat room. So they play the characters that the chat helped create in previous sessions, and yeah, I think that's what he's doing. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, we'll just wave awkwardly until the raid goes through. So, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Any second now. Bye.